I'm Miss Jackson Smith, and this is your math lesson for Thursday, May 21st. In this lesson, we're going to work on putting together everything that we've worked on this week. So, tables, picture graphs, and bar graphs, and we're just going to be working on answering questions about all that kind of data. So, let's just get started. Make sure you've got a pencil, and make sure you've got a piece of paper so that you can do this along with me. So please do pause the video so you can actually write this down, because then you're going to learn a lot more. So here's our agenda for today. We're starting with a warm-up. We're going to review some key words, and then we're going to just practice along together before you do your Google Classroom questions. So here's a new comparison story. In this story, I'm going to do comparison with groups. So let's go ahead and get started reading. Gemma is counting animals in the park. She counts 16 robins, 19 ducks, and 17 squirrels. How many more robins and ducks did Gemma count than squirrels? Okay, so I'm going to put boxes around my important details. So that's her data about the animals in the park. And she organized it by category of what kind of animal it is. Then the question's asking us to compare the group of robins and ducks to the group of squirrels. So kind of put all the robins and ducks, those birds, together. So we're going to compare, so that's how many more. So first off, I just want to know how many are in each group. So you've got the group of robins and ducks and the group of squirrels. So robins and ducks is 16 robins plus 19 ducks, and then squirrels is just 17 squirrels. And I'm not going to solve that right now. I'm just kind of taking notes. So now I'd want you to draw a box for the 16 robins, a box for the 19 ducks, and then a box for the 17 squirrels. I lined this up right at the start, and then 17 squirrels goes just a little farther because 17 is more than 16. Then I drew another box to fill it up all the way so that these line up just right, because we are wanting to know how many more are in this group of robins and ducks than are in this group of squirrels. So now that I've done my drawing, and it's just a quick sketch just so that I can visualize how many we have, I'm going to do my addition to find out how many are in this robins and ducks group. So that's 16 plus 9, and I stacked them so I can count my ones and then do my tens. So 6 ones plus 9 ones is 15 ones. That's 1, 10, 5 ones. So just like that. And then in my tens place, I have 1 plus 1 plus 1. That's 3. So I have 3 tens. So I've got 35 robins and ducks. I'm going to draw a new little tape to show that I have 35 birds or 35 robins and ducks all together. And we're still trying to find out how many this part is that is how many more robins and ducks than squirrels. So now that I've found that out, I can do my subtraction for comparison. So 35 minus 17 to find this missing amount. So let's just look here in our ones place. In our ones place, we've got 5 minus 7. I see a problem. There's more on the floor, so that means I need to do what? Go next door. So I'm going to go to next door to the tens place. I have 3 tens. I'm going to take one of those tens and put 10 more ones. So now I've got 2 tens, 15 ones. 15 minus 7 is 8, and 2 minus 1 is 1. So my answer is that there is 18 more robins and ducks than squirrels. All done. So that seemed like a kind of crazy problem. There were a lot of steps, but on your work on your own, I want you to try a problem kind of like this one where you have to compare groups. So our first step was finding how many were in the robins and ducks group, and then we were able to compare because we knew how many were in this group and how many were in this group. So it's okay if sometimes a problem has more than one step. If you get confused, just take a deep breath and look back at the videos or look back at the problem and try to think how much you know. One of the reasons we drew these pictures and the tapes is just to help us keep track of what this problem is if you are working on it and you do get confused partway through. But just take some deep breaths. If you're feeling frustrated, just pause, get some water. But I believe in all of you, and I know that you can do this stuff, okay? The rest of the problems today are not as complicated as this. Here we go. Here's some key words, and we're just going to review what we've learned so far about tables and graphs. So here's all the different types of graphs you've learned about this week. Great job, you guys. You've learned about tables, so where we come up with categories and we do tally marks with each category to show how many we have. You've also learned about picture graphs, so where we have a symbol and we have a legend about what each symbol stands for, and we kind of stack up those symbols to show our data. Then we also yesterday learned about a bar graph, and a bar graph is kind of like a picture graph, except you have a scale down here with numbers, and those numbers show how many are in each category, and so you'd shade in your bar to show how many. Now let's look at some key words that are about the other thing we've done. So we haven't just created these graphs and tables, but we've done a lot of work to answer questions about them. And so when we answer questions about data, that's actually called interpreting. So to interpret means to make meaning by asking and answering questions about data in a graph. And so here are a couple of helpful hints as we work together and you work on your own on interpreting data. So first of all, make sure you just take some time to label, look at, and use the graph. So always go back to the graph whenever you answer a new question. Second, you always want to subtract if you want to know how many more or how many fewer. So if a question's ever asking that, always subtract. Third, you want to be adding if you want to know the total or in all or all together. You also want to be adding if you're trying to find out how many are in a group of a couple different categories, okay? So subtract for how many more or how many fewer, and add if you want to know how many in all or how many are in a group. So